has to do with this case?
Okay. First, I would like to make a correction when you say children. None of these alleged victims are children. A lot of people, because of the media, portrayed this children, child molestation. None of them were children. These are all grown adults. And it was Jacob York being the missing axis of the entire conspiracy. He was not put on stand, first of all. Second of all, his name is not Jacob York. His name is Yaqub Muhammad. York is the name he used from his father, right? And the reason he uses his father's name is because he's involved in the music industry. And he has a lot of influence in the music industry only because Dr. Malachi Z. York influence as a businessman, as a one who's involved in music. He has a worldwide he's popular. He's known in the music industry. He's very popular, and he has big influence amongst this younger generation. So Jacob York used that influence by adopting the name York and went around with these different rap groups and Little Kim, and he spearheaded Cameron in their rap career. So Jacob York was involved with a lot of illegal activities. He was disgruntled member. He was ousted from our community because of the illegal activities and things that he was involved with. You follow what I'm saying? So the government has been watching him for years. This is not something that just popped up like we just came up with this conspiracy theory. It's been going on with Jacob York having an attitude or being upset towards his father for not financially backing him. So with Jacob York and his influence and having involved with these young teenagers and young adults, they what you would call lean towards him because he was throwing major parties. He was involved with just different rap concerts and different things like that. So these young kids or young adults, I would not use the word children because they weren't children, and he involved them with his charade and his trips and different things like that. And the government used him because they had things on him. They had the fact that he was trafficking cocaine and dealing with minors. They didn't know that they knew he was dealing with minors, but they was using him. So they say, okay, Jacob York, you gather these young adults and come up with this story because you're facing time. So what he did was finance this trip to South Beach. It was a huge trip. And people were there. We have witnesses who were there that knew about the trip and actually on the trip know they were using drugs. They had all types of orgies and things down there. And the whole time, this is right before they went to the feds to say, okay, here's these young adults. Right after they having these alleged victims now. They're down in Florida having parties, having orgies. They have it on tape. They're having all type of illicit sex, swapping partners, transmitting diseases. And these are the same alleged victims that the federal government used. But it was actually...
Now it says here that during the 3-week federal trial, they included 14 women, men, and teenagers telling the jury graphic tales of York's sexual appetite for children, which included vaginal, oral, and anal sex. Jurors even saw a short animated pornographic video seized during a search of York's home on the compound. Now what you're saying that is that out of these 14 women, men, and teenagers, are you saying that...
There was one main family that was involved with Jacob York. All of these alleged victims were sexually involved with him. They admitted it on the stand. They actually said these things. If you being that it was close to the public, a lot of people didn't hear our defense attorney saying, weren't you involved with Jacob York sexually? Let him, yes. Next one come on the stand. Are you involved sexually with Jacob York? And how long were you involved with? 7 months. Another get on the stand. Were you sexually involved? And he had this charade going on. People didn't know that.
So you're saying that all 14 of them were somehow involved with Jacob York?
You had 5 of them who were called on the defense on our side. See what they're saying, they have 14 alleged victims, but that's not the case.
Because you're saying that 5 of the alleged victims came on and said
nothing ever happened. And out of the remainders, they were the ones who were involved with this conspired trip down to South Beach, Florida. If you ask all of them, they say, weren't you on this trip? Why did you go to the trip? If all of these alleged victims were molested, why were they down in South Beach, Florida, having fun? If they're emotionally distressed, if they were going through all this sexual trauma, all this sexual molestation, and they're down there having sex with Jacob York, who they know is the son of Dr. York, wouldn't they be as far away from this guy as possible? Wouldn't they have no connection to the family? They were down there and doing the things that they say that they had problems with. They were being molested. They were down there having sex and partying. You don't do that if you are if you're a victim of child molestation. You want to seek medical treatment. You don't go there to have fun and party in one of the biggest party spots in America. You don't do that. So something's wrong there. They didn't admit that into the courtroom. They didn't allow even the testimony that I'm telling you now. It was not allowed in the as testimony for the people to hear. They did not allow that the public to hear. They knew.
Now they did not. You're saying that the fact that a lot of these alleged victims had gone down to South Beach with Dr. A lot of these alleged victims had gone down to South Beach with Dr. York was not allowed into testimony in the trial?
This testimony was not allowed in the trial. They did not want the people to hear the conspiracy part. That's why they did not put Jacob York on the stand. If they would have put Jacob York on the stand, it would have destroyed their whole case.
They wouldn't let you testify.
They wouldn't let me testify. That's what I'm telling you. The things I'm telling you now, it was not in. Jacob York came to me, actually, and because one of the ways he set it up was the federal government was funding him to make or have this halfway house. But the thing is, he needed a loan from the bank to get a bigger house because he said, there's a lot of girls going to be moving with me. These are these alleged victims, and I need more space. This is a one-on-one conversation. This is not hearsay, right? So he's saying, I need more space, and I need to fraud these bank statements to get a bigger house. And he came to me because my past involvement in some things, you know, that I paid for in society. But the thing is that this is what he was manipulating these children to do, not children, young adults, to do in order to get them, you know, involved with the whole thing, promising them wealth, promising them a bigger house, promising them trips, promising them money, promising them clothes and parties and introduction to the rap world, which a lot of them never experienced. So they're like, okay, we're with it.
Wait a minute, hold on a second, because you're glossing over something.
Yeah.
Now you're saying that Jacob York came to you personally.
Personally.
And for a lot of these alleged victims, he needed a bigger house because he wanted them to move in with him.
Exactly. And I grew up with most of the girls that were involved with him, and I'm looking at, like, afterwards, after I find out what's going on, I'm like, oh, this has to get out. Because you're not going to come and say, and gather these, you know, what you call innocent. They're actually innocent because a lot of them, Dr. York and our community were not exposed to certain things people in the world are exposed to, such as partying and drugs and things like that. So he opened the doorway, and they saw him as a clutch to lean on by him saying, okay, I have a house for you. You can have this. You have a car. We can go to this trip. And, okay, but we need money. And, we you know, and my father did this, and my father did that. And all of this is coming from his personal, emotional, you know, things he has inside because of his past. And it has nothing to do with Dr. York.
Now, a lot of what I read said that Dr. York has said that Jacob had originally came to him and asked him for a loan
for some money,
and he turned him down.
Exactly. He didn't want to back Little Kim's rap porn when she come out with her breast showing and talking about sex and feeding these lot of young girls this negative information. And Dr. York is trying to groom the young generation as something positive. He didn't want to back that. So Jacob York had in his heart, okay, well, you're not going to back me. I'm going to make sure, you know, you go down. And this is how he goes about his attitude. At the same time, he's using the York name to spearhead himself into the music industry. That's why he has the name Yorktown Records.
Now, I assume that you know, this says that a diminutive 16-year-old girl walked on the witness stand as the last person to testify as the main part of the government's case against Malachi York.
Right.
Her name was well known to the jury since numerous other witnesses had called her one of his favorite victims. Now, she states that sexual abuse by Dr. York started when she was 5. And